Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. So today we're going to read chapter 10, verse 10 in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Here we go. Tasham
Tesham
tasata yuktanam
Satatayuktanam
bhajatam
Rajatam
priti purvakam
Pritipurvakam
dadami
Dadami
buddhi yogam
Buddhiyogam
tam
Tam
yena
Yena
mam
Mam
upayanti
Upayanti
te
Te
tesham satata yuktanam
Desham Satatayuktanam
bhajatam priti purvakam
Vajatam Pritipurvakam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam
yenamam payanti te
Yenamam Upayanti Te
tesham satata yuktanam
Desham Satatayuktanam
bhajantam priti purvakam
Vajatam Pritipurvakam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam
yenamam upayanti te
Yenamam Upayanti Te
tesham satata yuktanam
Desham Satatayuktanam
bhajatam priti purvakam
Vajatam Pritipurvakam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam
yenamam upayanti te
Yenamam Upayanti Te Desham Satatayuktanam
tesham satata yuktanam
Vajatam Pritipurvakam
bhajatam priti purvakam
Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
Yenamam Upayanti Te
yenamam upayanti te
Tesham Satatayuktanam
Desam Satatayuktanam
Bhajatam Pritipurvakam
bhajatam priti purvakam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
dadami buddhi yogam tam
Yenamam Upayanti Te
yenamam upayanti te. Would anyone online like to chant? Anyone? Okay, word for word. Tesham,
Desam
unto them.
unto them
Satata yuktanam,
Satatayuktanam
always engaged.
always engaged
Bhajatam,
Vajatam
in devotional service.
in devotional service
Priti purvakam,
Pritipurvakam
in loving ecstasy.
In loving ecstasy
Dadami,
Dadami
I give.
I give
Buddhi yogam,
Buddhiyogam
real intelligence.
Real intelligence
Tam,
Tam
that. Yena,
Yena,
by which,
by which
mam,
Mam
unto me,
unto me
upayanti,
Upayanti,
come, te, they.
they.
Translation by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai.
To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and Yogam means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yogam. In other words, Buddhi Yogam is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees is Krishna. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna. And when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness in devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person must have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is intelligent enough, he will make progress on the path of self-realization. If one is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately to attain him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shakala Ilaya Takshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakanalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Rahum Tadnapitam thank you. Sadvivaitam Savabhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vaishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Vinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupascha Kripta Sindhu Baya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajantam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give understanding by which they can come to me. So that's the goal. This verse is speaking about the ultimate connection, the how to come to Krishna, and I'm feeling like that's very far away from me, and wondering how to get there, and sort of taking a look at the things, the moments in my life that help draw me towards this goal, that give me a reason to keep moving towards Krishna. Because he does seem so far away most of the time. I'm appreciating in here how he says that one should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. And I feel a lot of mercy in that sentence, that it's a slow process. For me, it feels very slow. Sometimes it seems for others it's a quick diving in and really going for it and giving all of their energy towards Krishna as much as possible in this yoga, Kali Yoga. So I'm just exploring this process towards reaching the goal of Krishna, and how to be in contact with him along the way, and enough of a the small things that I'm experiencing in my life that keep me, that intrigue me, and perhaps bring a little trust that there's something greater than me, outside of nature, which is already enormously full of awe. For me, there's also something energetically greater than me that's got my back, that's helping me along the way, which is relieving. So if you were with us during Malini's teaching the other day, she mentioned we went to my first Harinam Sankirtan, and we went down to downtown Atlanta. It was an interesting trip because I wanted to go to a really nice area where there were lots of people, and there was like the belt line, and it's usually full, or at least there's people around, and then there was another area I wanted to go to where I thought for sure there would be some people, and we could, be a welcomed environment, not by everyone, but most people, and we drove there and there was no one there, and then we tried another spot and it was just like no one. It was really strange. The city of Atlanta, there's 7 million people, and everywhere we went that is normally quite full and live was not. And I kept blaming it on the weather because we don't really like gloomy weather here, but when the sun comes out, everybody goes outside and floods the city. So we decided downtown because there were certain to be people in downtown Atlanta that's, the buildings and working and all kinds of students. So I thought, well, we'll go towards Georgia State University where the students are because that seems to be a nice place to go. Like students, they're open and young and curious. And so we went, and it was really quite barren on the way down there, and we weren't sure. We found this university, and which is kind of spread around in buildings and parked. And we got out and started, and I was really, really stretching myself to do this at all, and not performing out of love, not performing out of joy and excitement to serve Krishna in this way and to spread his name around the city of Atlanta, this massive city with no one in it seemed. And we did. We went, we did it, and I played the mridanga, which I don't know how to play. So I just banged on it, which was uncomfortable, but I let myself go and sort of trust the process. And then we discovered that the people we were seeing, the people we were coming in contact with, and who were some coming rather quickly for something from us, were mostly homeless. And there were students, but they were kind of not many of them, and they kind of went into each building, and they didn't spend a lot of time out in the streets. And so most of our interaction was with homeless, and it was not only was it eerie that the city was so barren, it seemed, so not alive, then we were interacting with people who were also seemingly not very alive. It was a really heavy, dark, as Malini put it, it was just extremely painful, and Ladini said hellish. It really was. It was I'm accustomed to the city having such a variety of people, working people, visiting people, and homeless, and street vendors, and just such a different variety that it sort of balances out, and the homelessness is apparent, but it's not so heavy, and the pain that they're carrying, and the guardedness and the protection, and then also the drugs and the alcohol, the heaviness, just tremendous heaviness, and also underlying anger and just negativity, just palpable. It was just so intense, and we went through, and we sang, and we chanted, and we engaged as much as possible, and there was a lot of resistance and a lot of disinterest, and we persevered, and Ladini approached as many people as she could, and it was a process. And then there were a couple of people that really stood out to us that were there was this young man. We found ourselves in the homeless line waiting for the shelter. They had to go across 2 streets to get to the shelter, and there was one young man. There were probably 15 of them people, and he was young and sort of bright, and he had his mission to, if we had stuff, to get it, but after that, when he realized we only had some cookies and handouts, he stayed with us, and there was this sort of light in him that was like alive and vibrant, even though he was like in this role in his life of being homeless, and sort of following the what was needed as a homeless person to get what they need, and be protected. And he was intrigued. He stayed with us. He took the maha-mantra, and he was with us. He made eye contact with us. We felt the connection. We felt this light. We felt him like with us and interested and connecting, and that felt, even if that was only one of a few people who was touched, it was like important. it was so important that we were there doing that. And there was another woman in the same line, and sort of in the front of the line, and she just danced. She just put her head down and sort of grooved to the music, and she moved and she danced, and she was with us the whole time, even though she didn't really look at us much, and that really, she came alive, and you could feel like whether or not either of them knew what they were doing, there was a light coming, there was a flame being lit, and they were inspired in some way, in their own way, and it's really beautiful to see. So I'm wondering if there was like a love opening in them, like love for Krishna without knowing that that's what they were doing. If it was like that loving process where he, for those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, well, that probably wasn't happening for them. But maybe that one moment, Krishna was able to like see their genuine like desire to connect to something beautiful, and they felt that there, and so there was this opportunity that opened where they could connect, where Krishna and these people could connect, and yeah, that was really beautiful in the midst of the darkness, that we were really swimming in just darkness, deep, heavy, thick, muddy, like ocean is what it felt like. And at one point we came across a man with this really disturbing poster of an aborted fetus, very raw, and he was preaching Jesus, and he was really serious about preaching Jesus. And at this point, I had been given the microphone and still had the mridanga, so I'm really uncomfortable. And now this man who's taking a stand for Jesus is telling Malini that Krishna is a demon, and that we are like promoting the demon. And then I started to doubt. Then I was not fully devoted and worshiping Krishna. Suddenly I was questioning, like, was I in the right place? Was I with the right group? Was I, in one of these religious groups where people are like, oh, those people, yeah, they're crazy. Was that me? Malini verified that yes, that is where I was, and perhaps not a demon, but definitely a group that was not widely accepted. So, so as he is getting a little aggressive with her, and she is grounded and ready to support his strength in Jesus, I found myself alone in the maha-mantra. Ladini was talking, Malini finally stopped playing the kartals to engage, and I was just standing there, and there was kind of a different amount of people around, and I felt so uncomfortable. I was already so uncomfortable, and it was already so dark. Just the energy was so heavy and so dark that I don't know exactly what I did, but I surrendered, and I just went into all I had left was the maha-mantra. That was it. Because I felt so alone, and I just felt, this is before we were with the two people who danced, I felt like there's no hope. It's just, I don't know what's happened to my city, and it's so sad and so dark, and so many people are so lost and so covered and so guarded that it felt like I didn't know how to get to any of them, and then we were kind of being attacked, and we told that we were demons, we were promoting the demons, and so I went into this, to the singing and the chanting alone. There was a woman sitting on the wall across from me who seemed quite neutral, so I just played, banged on the mridanga and chanted, and suddenly I felt this like complete ease and peacefulness and like elevation, like where I was rising above all of that. I was like I described to Malini, I was feeling so touched by being in that position of being in devotion and worshiping Krishna, even in such a hellish place, that I was so touched and untouchable at the same time. Like I just rose up above all of it and continued to share and deliver the message, to offer the names of God to the people around me, that even in this discussion. And it was a moment of like tasting, where he gave me the opportunity to taste again, but in a new, really amazing way, that he's there and that he's with us. And I'm so touched. And it didn't last long, because once the conversation ended and they joined me again, it brought me back down to earth, and we continued our journey. But it's those moments that he offers. He mentions in the next verse, he speaks in verse chapter 10, text 11. The translation is, out of compassion for them I dwell in their hearts and destroy with a shining lamp the knowledge born of ignorance. That's not the one I was thinking of. But there was one where he says that for those who want to reach out to him, he will lower the veil and reveal himself. 725, was it? I think. Anyway, there's one where he talks about those who really want to reach out to him. And I guess in that moment I felt, in the surrender, in the full discomfort, full surrender, full zero control, really, of anything that was happening in the city I was born and raised in, that he reached down and like touched me and said, I'm here, it's okay. And so I'm feeling gratitude for that, for those little moments, because then we came home and there were so many challenges in my kitchen. And I thought, you're so mean, Krishna. You give me this ecstasy moment, this loving, like, safe, protected moment, and then we come home in my own home, and it's like, I'm so uncomfortable and stressed out in my kitchen with my lovely devotee guests, who I love dearly. And
Are you saying that you felt better with the homeless and the street?
No, not saying that. I'm not saying that. It's actually been quite rough. I've been stepping into observer, which we talk about in the seminars so much, is stepping into the space of observer, of like, okay, so I'm in downtown and this is crazy and probably very dangerous if we're not careful, and have this moment. And so I get to step back and like look at what happened, and in the moment and now. And then in the kitchen, it was like Malini even offered, like, would you want to know more about what Krishna would like you to do to make your kitchen more Krishna available? And I said, no, I don't. Like, that's too much. It's too much. And that was kind of where I went. I left the kitchen. I was invited to leave the kitchen, thank goodness. And I got really upset with Krishna. It feels like such a roller coaster of a ride in this beginning. And clearly, I'm not fully worshiping and devoting my everything to him yet. So I guess it makes sense that I'm getting these challenges and these, I don't know, life's pretty good for the most part. I'm wondering, life is really good. I'm wondering what experiences you guys have where you get to really be with him for a moment, where it's clear, where it's like undeniable that he's there and he's with you, and I just want to hear from people, where does he touch you? When does he touch you? Or has he? Oh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Um,
Garuda, yes.
Thank you for your class. I really appreciate just hearing your personal experience of, going out and sharing Krishna consciousness with the city of Atlanta. I guess I was really connecting to like just what's kind of happening for you personally, like really seeing how like it's such a like there's so much emotions that come up around like feeling like really experiencing the presence of God, feeling Krishna's presence. I'm really connecting to that in my life. I'm, just this overall feeling like, that I'm alone in this world. And then coming to Krishna consciousness and really seeing this uncovering process of like really kind of getting to the point where you experience Krishna's presence all the time is like the end result is my sense of like Srila Prabhupada giving us this like really clear program that we can give ourselves to, and the end result is experiencing Krishna in every moment, and that this is something that I've been kind of trying to get clear of my experience, like over the years, giving myself to this process and making more commitments, and then really honing in on my association on a regular basis. What am I associating with? Who am I associating? What sound vibration am I associating with? And the more I like, I'm experiencing that the more I give myself to this process, the more I surrender to Srila Prabhupada's instruction, the more often I'm experiencing Krishna's presence in my life. And that is, it's like, it's everything that I've been like looking for in my life, is that feeling or that experience that I'm not alone, that my creator is with me every moment. So I guess that's what I wanted to share. Like, cause recently I've been like trying to figure out like, what is it that I'm experiencing? Like it's an energy, it's a feeling, but that energy and feeling, what it really is to me is like, it's the feeling the presence of God, and more and more often in my life, more and more often throughout the day. I'm not saying that I personally made it to a place where I experience Krishna every moment, because that's not true for me. But I would say the majority of the time during the day, if I'm like in the process, if I'm like following through with all my commitments and being rigorous, then I'm experiencing Krishna's presence more and more often throughout my day and in my life. And I guess that's just, I don't know, that's what I wanted to share. Yeah, thank you again for your class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. I hear you in your exploring your process, and I hear gratitude for Srila Prabhupada and his guidance and his teachings and the books he's written to give you a path to find that you are not alone, to discover that you're not alone, to experience not being alone. And you're having more and more of those experiences the more you follow the process, the more you trust the process as you see that unfolding in a positive way, and like exploring the feeling that you get, that feeling of him with you, and identifying it as that. It's a process. Sounds sweet.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for sharing. It's inspiring. As resistant as I am to follow all the processes, all the rules and regulations, it's nice to hear that it works. Slowly but surely.
Prabhupada calls them the four principles of freedom.
The full principle of freedom. The Four principles of freedom. Rukmini?
Hi.
That's right, Rebecca. I'm sorry, Rohini.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm sorry. Hare
that's
Krishna.
okay. Many people call me Rukmini, actually. Hare Krishna. Kelly, I experienced you as very brave and courageous, and also sincere. Yeah, I wanted to share just a little bit of what's been happening for me with your question, which was I'm not sure how you put it, but how does Krishna show up in my life for me, like in those moments? And I guess just I'm thinking most recently about how I'm going through, I'm in a period of growth and in my service, and it's very uncomfortable and stretchy and bringing up a lot of insecurities but it's been amazing because on the Bhagavad Gita reading that I'm doing, and then another reading that I'm doing, I'm finding that whatever my process is and what's happening for me, that whatever we're reading about, it's aligned with what it's like, completely speaking to what's happening for me right now and my process. And so I feel so supported and heard, and like Prabhupada is right there with me along he's hearing me, and so that's one way I wanted to share that I'm seeing that like Krishna magic happening right now for me.
Yeah, like Prabhupada's right there with you. And as these things unfold in your life, he offers you what you need
Mm-hmm.
again and again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I've had that experience too with I don't know if this is kosher, but with Bhagavad Gita tarot, where asking a question, like a sincere, real question, and flipping through, and Prabhupada answers it. So it's oh good, it's kosher. Okay, yay! Hi Krishna. Ah, Haribol. Thank you for sharing that, Rohini.
Gajendra has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Gajendra. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, good morning. Yeah, it's an interesting question that you sort of asked us to encourage us to share. And when I think about the times that I feel most deeply and most peaking in my Krishna consciousness, I think every single time I can connect it to there being some difficulty, and I think about this verse in the Bhagavad Gita 7:16. Krishna says, 4 kinds of pious people engage in my devotion. And the first one he mentions is the distress. And that's what was coming for me. And maybe I connected to you and your story a little bit, that you were talking about Harinam. Like there was some distress going on for you for various reasons about the whole day, from like, where are the people, who's this, guy telling me I'm worshiping a demon. And so, there's stress there. And so I'm thinking in my situation, when I've had these most deep and most peak experiences, almost invariably it's tied to the distress that I'm feeling from loss. I'm in a very deep place from a feeling of loss. And what tends to come with that is this I go deep in surrendering to Krishna. And at that time, Krishna is very, very present. My chanting feels very deep. My whole heart is engaged, which makes sense because most of my deepest distresses are involved with feeling loss in relation to my heart, like the loss of a love relationship or the death of a parent or even one's spiritual master. Um, and and it seems that time, wherever I was maybe previous to that moment, putting my sort of focus on that situation when it's lost to me, even be a dog I'm very attached to that's suddenly lost, that was creating this sort of representing Krishna, playing a representative role in Krishna in my life in a sense. But then when that is gone from this world, I feel like all I'm left with is Krishna in a very, very deep place. So that's, I don't remember the exact words of your question, but that's what came to me when I heard it.
Yeah, that speaks directly to my question. Thank you. I hear that where you really feel his immediate presence and connection is when you experience loss. It's as if the relationships you have in your life are like a material experience of Krishna, the love, the connection, the trust, the whatever bond that you've created with these people. When they're gone, the emptiness that's left, the feeling of aloneness, and that Krishna is ready. He's right there, ready to jump in.
Yeah.
And say, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they are, Krishna, in a representative sense, they're playing a role, but it gives me an opportunity when they are lost to really go to my core relationship, but more deeply to Krishna as the source, to whatever extent I'm maybe forgetting Krishna by what was, representing, and I'm sort of getting lost in that. That loss brings me to my very deep core relationship.
Wow. Yeah, I hear that you're seeing the loss almost as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I wanted to say silver lining, but it's bigger than that. I mean, it's your core. It's like the sun.
Yeah.
It's like seeing
Yeah.
the sun again and
Yeah.
moving towards that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rahini, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that your first sharing, that was one thing you wanted to share. I wanted to see, was there another thing you wanted to share?
Did you say Rohini?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, that's all for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Malini, yes.
I really appreciate Gajendra Prabhu's sharing, because it seems that as long as we feel like we are important, in control, or we can lord it over, or we have it together, or anything like that, then Krishna kind of say, okay, that's good. And hearing your experience, Kelly, what came to me is that moment of feeling insignificant, helpless, powerless within the material energy, like really feeling like there's nothing I can do here, and helpless and powerless and insignificant. Then in that moment, naturally we can, like make space for the Supreme Controller or the cause of all causes, and really get that guidance from Super Soul and connection with Super Soul. Because Krishna is not very far away, it's just right here in our heart. So he knows everything that's happening for us. And 2 days ago, we drove on Tuesday morning. And we drove and we were on the road for 7.5 hours. That was really long, and for my bodies, it was really long, and it was a lot of stimulation arriving in all the traffic of Atlanta. And I haven't traveled for a long time, and then it was like a pouring rain in the middle of that traffic and the darkness. It was just very intense. And that night, I guess my nervous system was overstimulated, so I didn't sleep. And then I wanted to get up in the morning because I was committed to our morning program and like 12 morning program while we are here. And I appreciate your connection with the Holy Name, because the Holy Name is non-different than Krishna. And so that's always a place where I have trained myself to take shelter in the Holy Name. So that morning I was chanting here, just in your temple room on your beautiful rug. And I felt so small and weak, and like there was no 1 inch of energy in my body. I was really come to a place like, well, yes, there's nothing there. Like this body is finished. And in that moment, I felt a wave of warmth and love and just a beautiful feeling of being cradled. And then I remember, I don't need to be strong. And that's what separates us from Krishna. You know, you were speaking about the homeless. And what was amazing to me is they are in such a destitute position. And most of them also acting crazy, like some people were doing crazy things. But to sense that guardedness, that guarded, that I have it together, like even there. But we are all homeless. You know, that's a reality, to think that they are homeless and I am not. This is delusion. This is complete delusion. We are as homeless as they are. They are, you know. But and what was, you know, I share with Ladini is like, even in that destitute position, there was so much pride, so much like, I'm good, or you know, like people like, you know, I'm the king of something. I don't know what the king of what, but I'm the king of something. And then, you know, as long as that's going on, then Krishna say, okay, be the king. And when you let go of that and realize that there's nothing under your control, like you realize there was nothing under your control, that Christian was so aggressive. He transformed some, but he was so aggressive, and his sign was so gory, gory, bloody sign. And then those young, beautiful people were trying to bring science to his knowledge, and you realize, like, okay, I'm alone. Ladini is preaching to those people. Malini is with a Christian that tell her that what she's doing is demonic. And I'm helpless here. It's crazy, it's crazy place, and it's scary place. I'm helpless, powerless. I'm bringing on the Mridanga, and I have the Holy Name. And that's why I'm going to shelter myself. I feel touched and inspired by your sharing.
Yeah, I appreciate your taking shelter in the holy name and your really intense experience. And I imagine there was lots of chanting happening in your heart, if not being so focused on the road during that time. And I remember that the next morning, I had no idea you hadn't slept. And you were very dedicated to your chanting right up next to the altar. And then all of a sudden you like came alive and you got the Bhagavad, you asked for a Bhagavad Gita, and off you went to get ready for the class you were going to give without sleep. And you mentioned you were suddenly inspired. Prabhupada had inspired you, or something came to you, and that just speaks to the power of the maha-mantra. And I am appreciating deeply your willingness to get up and do morning program at 5 a.m. and show up so fully and give such a beautiful class too. Maha-mantra ki jai.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling strong or capable.
Yeah,
Or
you,
qualified.
yeah,
Strong, capable, or qualified. I had no idea. I'm going to
you had nothing to give. And Prabhupada said, here, try this. Beautiful. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for being here today. Would anyone else like to share an experience? We have time.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear
Prabhupada,
me?
Hare Krishna. Yes.
There you go. Thank you for your class. Appreciate hearing your adventures there in Atlanta. And yeah, I'm wondering, I'm thinking like how interesting and maybe perfect that you attracted that experience in Atlanta. It's such a dynamic city, diverse city. Like you could you could have so many different kinds of experiences going out into the streets of Atlanta, and then you somehow you co-created with Krishna this particular experience. And so I, just appreciating that. And so, yeah, that's your question of like how to connect with Krishna or experience Krishna. And I think for myself, I think mostly I'm experiencing Krishna through his external energy, through matter, through the material world, through his external energy and his arrangements. And often I think that I may people give credit to like, oh, Krishna arranged this, and then I think about like how much is Krishna personally arranging this. Krishna's in Goloka, Vrindavan with, the gopis, and he's, having childhood pastimes. There's Krishna, the original form, like what is he, personally arranging for me? So I'm thinking, okay, probably mostly I'm experiencing through Krishna's agents, through his, servants, through his representatives, through his, you know, his helpers, like the demigods, so I'm experiencing Krishna maybe in nature, or I think some a little thing like, oh, I was looking for a job, or I needed some money, and then some money came, and wow, Krishna gave it. It's like, well, Krishna's probably not personally involved with that, but like his, his representatives through his agency, he's inconceivably, managing and administrating everything. And so, and even like, okay, I feel the presence of God, or I'm like calling out to God. And then, how much do I really have realization that I'm speaking with Krishna, the original supreme personality of Godhead, in Goloka Vrindavan, like that. So like, I'm probably more connecting with, not to get too technical, but like, Mahavishnu or some universal, Paramatma, so that's mostly my experiences through, Krishna's different forms and energies and external energy, representatives, servants, demigods, whatever. But then I can feel like Krishna's presence behind it. Like I'm like, okay, I know he, set this up, or that, he's the ultimate, he's the big boss, he's the one that's enabling and giving power to the experience that I'm having. So that's my kind of personal thoughts. And then when it comes to, Krishna himself, well, then everything I experience or know about Krishna himself, like the Krishna, Shama Sundar, threefold bending, form, playing the flute, anything I know about, anything I experience of him is through Srila Prabhupada. Like I don't have any other connection, any other realization, or, it's 100% through Srila Prabhupada, like through his books, or even the maha-mantra that he, through the maha-mantra, and so through his books, then I have some glimpse of some connection with Krishna himself. And then but then the holy name itself, okay, that's merciful, because then I do get to experience in kirtan, chanting japa with attention, then I get to experience some taste, which I understand is non-different from Krishna himself, the Krishna. So that's like a special, wow, that's a really big gift. Because otherwise, all I have is what I was saying before, external energy, different manifestations. Um, and then I can hear from Srila Prabhupada. But then aside from just hearing from Srila Prabhupada and receiving from Srila Prabhupada, we have the maha-mantra, which is given us to by Srila Prabhupada. But then we get to have our own experience directly of Krishna. So how amazing is that? You know, the maha-mantra. And yeah. So yeah, I appreciate your question. Thank you for asking the question.
Hi Krishna, thank you for sharing, Prabhupada. It's interesting. I feel like that your perspective like brings it down to earth a little bit of like, okay, what's really happening here, and what's realistic? Like, am I talking to the president or his representatives? Am I talking directly to Krishna or his representatives? And there's the disciplic succession, the parampara, and the yeah, I'm glad I got that right. And maha and that line as well of like who is in charge of the earth, and so you're wanting to be, it feels interesting to use this word, like realistic about it, because it doesn't feel like reality to me, it feels surreal, but like realistic about who you're really getting in touch with, and really thinking about that, and also feeling gratitude, deep gratitude for Prabhupada and for this maha-mantra, Lord Chaitanya, where you are able to directly connect to Krishna. And yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for, and that one other part is just that, I mean, my understanding is for the pure devotees, then they do have Krishna, Krishna in the heart, like Krishna himself in the heart, and Krishna does become personally involved with pure devotees, fully surrendered. So that's the other part of it. But yeah, for myself, okay, Krishna is probably not personally involved in my, money affairs, but through his agency, through his, through his energies, I can feel his presence behind, whatever, good fortune I may have. And then, and then the opportunities for growth and all the challenges also. So I want to add that piece.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like he may not be directly in control of your finances, but I guess is it Lakshmi Priya who's in charge of that? Lakshmi Devi. Yeah, there may be a representative for that specific thing that's happening in your life. And I mean, you're speaking directly to this text, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, the pure devotee. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So as you're saying, once you reach that point, then he's there with you. And you're not there yet. Neither am I. Thank you. Yes,
No,
Lynn.
Well, I was just speaking of, like Prabhupada said about the super soul. The super soul constantly guides us, and the super soul constantly speaks with us. And the super soul does guide us in the minus way of our life. And our Kshirodakashai Vishnu is not Krishna's Shama Sundar, still is a Vishnu Tattva, so our super soul is right there. And in the minutest aspect of our life, if we choose to, Krishna in the form of Kshirodakashai Vishnu, in the form of Paramatma, in our heart, is guiding every wandering of living being, even animals. We say instinct, but Prabhupada described in some ways that instinct is a super soul.
Was very touched by your sharing in class. It was fun to remember with our experience in downtown Atlanta. Definitely powerful experience for me also. Maybe like one of the most impactful Harinam I've ever been to. And I appreciate Malina's sharing about like if we feel like really weak, then we eventually like have space for Krishna. Like if I have all this like big ego that's like filling me up to the sky, there is not much space for Krishna. So I appreciated that, and also like I in that moment when you shared it, Melanie, I got a different realization of the Trinat Api verse. That is like this, like that's what it means. It's like this surrender verse. Like if you are really humble and tolerant, and it's just like really knowing that's like not much we can like do here, or like whatever control here, or yeah. So it was helpful for me to like put these two together, because then we can chant always. So, and I'm thinking of that one a lot. Not always. That's the problem.
The joy and the problem.
Yeah, so I appreciate that connection. For sure, in the moments of my life when my false ego is crashed to the ground, I have space for Krishna. But somehow or other, I rebuild the false ego. Like, oh, now I have connection with Krishna. Look how good I am. So I never stay too long in that.
Yeah.
We are very good at cultivating false ego.
I know.
If we are putting as much energy in cultivating Krishna consciousness, then our life will be completely successful.
I wish it was so
victorious.
easy and natural for me. Like,
Yeah, like if it was natural to connect with Krishna rather than the ego.
I mean,
Just flip it.
it's like the ultimate natural is to connect with Krishna. But somehow for me,
You've developed a taste for the ego instead of Krishna.
I developed
Me
a taste
too.
for the ego.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I too see how in the beginning my ego was in the way when we first started. It's like, no, I don't want to do it. And I'll just bang on the drum. And I was just very guarded and like protecting myself. And I wasn't really interested in doing that down there. And Harinam in downtown. And so, yeah, I appreciate your coming back with the connection, the ego and the surrender, and when you surrender, he comes in, and then you rebuild again. And
Well, I wouldn't say I surrender. I am like smashed to the
when
ground.
you're smashed, you have no other choice.
And then as soon as I start to feel a little better, because I experienced this Krishna's presence, so as soon as I start to feel a little bit, I'm not like completely smashed to the ground. I'm like, like above.
Yeah. Then you
Pretty good about
build that
myself.
ego
I
again.
am the controller, I am the doer, I am powerful, I am wonderful.
Yes.
In the story of Draupadi, Krishna didn't show up until she put both arms in the air. As long as she was holding a little bit to her sari, as long as there was a part of her that were thinking, I can protect myself in this situation, Krishna waited. As soon as she put both arms, that means like someone is pulling on her sari. So as soon as she let go, she's going to be disrobed. And as soon as she puts both arms in the air and call out, oh, hey, Govinda, then Krishna show up. And also, we read yesterday in the Nectar of Devotion that my sense is Draupadi didn't call on Krishna to bring the sari. She called in pure like, okay, that's only you. And I have no motivation here, like no material motivation. And then Krishna really showed up fully in the situation when nobody else. All those terrible soldiers, all 5 husbands, none of them show up. It was 5 strong. Yeah. So, Hare Krishna.
Recently I read purport from Shah Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's comparing Kunti with Devaki, either with Draupadi or with Devaki, but I think it was with Devaki. And he says like Krishna protected all Kunti's children, and he didn't protect all Devaki's children because she got a husband. So it's really like this, a complete dependence on Krishna only Because if I have plan B, like you said, it was nice. If I went plan B, Krishna is like, oh, good, you take care for yourself. If Krishna doesn't take care for me, I have plan B. Krishna says, okay, go for B.
There is 4 comments. Chat. Thank you.
I'm glad you saw it.
Vasudeva didn't do too well. But he was there.
As Parampara mentions not being able to hear very well, and I don't see when that was posted. I hope everybody's been able to hear. And Rukmini says the same.
It was Malini sharing just before her last, like when Malini responded just after I shared, I couldn't hear. After that, I could hear a little bit, but there's some noise or whatever. But
Oh, there was noise. Okay. So it wasn't the mic; it was background noise.
I think my computer has very loud
Processor.
down.
Okay. Sorry. But you said you're able to hear now, right?
yes,
Okay.
And it's sitting on the thing, so it's probably cooling down.
Oh. All kinds of things. Did anyone else want to share? Well, I would like to express deep gratitude to Malini and Ladini for making the treacherous trek to Atlanta in the weather and the traffic at 5 o'clock traffic, no less, and for coming and sharing your devotional selves and bringing full bhakti yoga experience into this home. And I'm really grateful and touched. And thank you all for coming today to be in my class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Bhagavad
Hare
Gita
Krishna,
ki jai.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.